I will not interrupt you a single time. I want you to lay out from start to finish your entire theory on how you think Jews are controlling the media, what they do with that control, and what their final goals are. Okay? Can you go ahead and lay that out for me?
Yeah, sure. All
right, go for
it. They gravitate.
All right, we're playing Terraria.
As the founder of TinyChat, what did you think of the whole Doja Cat fiasco when it was happening?
Yeah, Dan, what did you think about that?
That was long after my time. I sold that business many moons. You know. Yeah, many moons. So.
Interesting, Dan.
Well, in any case, what did you think of it as it was happening, just as a spectator?
What happened exactly?
Well, if I recall correctly, she wasn't a big-time artist at the time, and so when she went out on tours, she would spend her nights on a chat room where there were a bunch of basically online like edgelords, and they'd make edgy jokes. And apparently, after she blew up, people found out that she was in those chat rooms. As one individual put it, she was in racial chat rooms showing feet. And
racial chat rooms?
Yep,
what's a racial
chat room?
A racial chat room?
I have no idea. It's just a bunch of edgelords, right? Mm-hmm. And so she'd get drunk on there and, make jokes, whatever the case may be. And then people found out about it.
Uh-huh.
What type of what?
Okay, I'm assuming these are racist jokes?
She in particular, they didn't catch her making any racist jokes because obviously TinyChat doesn't have any like logs or their phone calls or anything like that. But I don't think there's anything they could pin on her outside of the fact that she was around a bunch of people who were questionable and repeatedly so. And so once it happened, I don't think she got cut out of any brand deals. A lot of people were like freaking out about it. She had to do like an apology and whatnot. In any case, what did you think about it?
Listen, a lot of you guys are Zoomers. You guys, I feel like I know where this started. A long, long time ago, there was a IAC executive, Interactive Corp, and they were flying to Africa. And right before they got on the plane to go to Africa, they made a tweet. And they said, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS or die. And that was the tweet they made. And then they got on the plane.
Well, hold on. There was one other part of that probably contributed to that, right?
Oh no, just kidding. I'm white.
Yeah.
I forgot. That was
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the tweet that they made, and that was like the start of canceling, basically. Like, I think that was like the first time.
I think that was the first major person whose life that was like a stranger whose life like just got completely destroyed. Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a well-deserved though. No, I think that joke's a little bit too edgy.
I don't know, like...
Well, the problem was when you looked at the joke, she was actually making fun of, because I think she was like kind of like an SJWE person, or like a left-leaning person. She was making fun of the fact that like, okay, I'm white, I don't have to worry about these types of things. It wasn't like, LOL, African black people die of AIDS, LMFAO. It was kind of like one of those things like, hey, getting pulled over by the cop. Am I about to get in big trouble? Huh, nope, guess not, I'm white, right? It was supposed to be like that kind of joke, like a self-deprecating one.
Right,
yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, but her life was destroyed, yeah, completely.
Yeah, I actually think they based like a Family Guy episode off that, where he's like walking in, he's like, I'm about to watch this Kevin Hart movie. Just kidding, I'm white. And they canceled him over that.
About to see the new Kevin Hart movie. Just kidding, I'm white and went to college. Hashtag Baywatch movie.
I mean, I think it's all fucked, man. The fucking cancellation of people who are probably good people most of the time, and they're just... The thing that gets me the most, I think, of all this shit is, like, let he who has not said something fucked up on Xbox Live cast the first fucking tweet. Like, that's genuinely where it's at. Just whatever. Whatever, what can you do?
Yeah, all we can do is delete our logs. If only there was something that could help us out with that.
Yeah, you're a bitch. I just styled on your whole fucking squad.
Really? Because it sounds to me like you just got fucking shit on, kid.
What? Except my squad's alive.
My squad is fine. We've got all 4. I don't know who the fuck you killed, dude. It wasn't one of our people. You just got styled on, kid. Get the fuck out of this game.
Are you pretending to sound like Destiny on
He's trying to
purpose?
snipe.
Pretending to sound like Destiny. I don't know who the fuck that is, but you got styled on, kid. Don't be mad about it.
Oh, yeah, I bet. The kid you're pretending to sound exactly like, never heard of him.
How am I sounding exactly like who? What are you even talking about?
Oh, poor fucking virgin. Get a fucking life.
Fucking virgin? How could I be a fucking virgin when your mom is
You're a
beneath my
fucking
desk
League of
right now
Legends
sucking
little
my fucking
bitch.
dick, dude? Are you serious,
My
dude?
mom's dead.
Yeah, dead why? Because I didn't let her fucking breathe, kid. Get the fuck out of here.
I ever find out who you are, I'll kill you in real life.
You're not gonna kill shit in real life,
Give me your
dude.
address.
Like when you talk about lefty disinformation versus like what you see on the right, are you saying it's equal or more like to the same degree, same scale? Like what exactly is your opinion on that? If you get
I
what
think
mean?
that all misinformation is bad. I think that, like, just looking at the absolute end case, I would say that misinformation on the right now is probably worse than misinformation on the left. But the problem is that misinformation on the left, I think, very directly leads people to misinformation on the right. So that's why I think that all of it is really bad and should be treated about equally. Like, we shouldn't let any of it slide, and all of it should be derided, like, incredibly viciously, I think.
Okay, if you think we're like in a world where there was not a single bit of lefty misinformation, do you think people on the right would suddenly become super amiable to like the correct ideas, or because in my opinion they would just
Or go ahead.
yeah, in my opinion they would just like keep going things like the big lie or whatever. They wouldn't really. They just make up stuff, like be it for COVID, be it for
So I try
what
not
happened
to
during the election.
Yeah, I try not to personally say this. I don't think that people on the right, I don't think that most conservatives are like these horrendously unreasonable people that are just like beyond redemption. I think that like it only really takes like you to see like 2 or 3 or 4 different lies from a certain media outlet to never trust them again. If you want like fun proof of this, you can do this yourself. You can do this yourself, or you can test this with a friend. Ask people like, what do you think about like Ben Shapiro? And they can say stuff like, oh, he's horrible, I hate him. And they'd be like, can you think of like 3 things that he said that are like demonstrably false? Most people won't be able to name 3 things, or 2 things, or sometimes even 1 thing. Maybe they'll know like 1 big thing they'll remember. Or you can do the same thing with like Alex Jones or any or LaRussian.
Wouldn't that prove my point? If they can't think of any lies, then wouldn't it just means that they'll just say them based on their ideology rather than what they actually say?
All I'm saying is that I think that at one point in time, they'll hear like 1 thing and then they'll write that person off forever. Like that's all it takes. You only have to see like 1 like fucked up bad video. And when I say fucked up bad, just 1 thing that's like totally wrong. And you're like, oh yeah, this is not trustworthy. This is really bad. So I think that that's why you got to be really careful as like a left-leaning person, not to propagate like certain types of misinformation. Because if a conservative runs across and they see it, they're like, oh wait, this must all be lies. Like they'll do that and then they'll just be like, boom, they're done with it. Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you that as soon as they see anything they can grab onto, they will. It's like when you had that debate yesterday in a way. Like any way they could like wiggle their way out of like accepting what they don't want to believe, they will. But in my opinion, that just like it just shows that they're not very. People are very ideologically driven. They're not. Very few people actually care about the facts a lot, and it will mostly be about. Oh, I can see that you want to. Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that people can only wiggle so hard. But I think that a lot of the problems with that conversation too, which unfortunately it took me too long to figure it out, was like they were still working with a definition of systemic racism that I don't personally subscribe to, that a lot of people, again, online, like propagate. Like that was one of the big problems of that debate, is their understanding of systemic racism was, oh, systemic racism is when all the cops are racist, which a lot of left-leaning people online say that particular thing. So like a whole bunch of that debate didn't go anywhere just because of their like misconception of what that definition means, which is something that left-leaning people unfortunately contribute to misinformation about online. Yeah. This is why I said I don't even like the term systemic oppression or systemic racism, because even people on the left and right don't know what it means anymore. Like I think that when people hear that enough, I think that you can make arguments traditionally that systemic oppression does still exist in the United States. It is in a lot of our institutions, but that doesn't mean that every single person, or even the majority of people, or even like a minority of people are racist. It might be a very, very slim majority, or a very, very slim minority, or it might just be like shitty outcomes that our systems like unintentionally perpetuate that kind of keep people fucked. For instance, throwing young fathers into jail for some stupid shit like marijuana, and then having their kids grow up to be fucking criminals because that's what you do when you don't have fucking parents in the household. But I think people get really fixated on the outcome sometimes and they're just quick to say that like everybody's racist and everybody's white supremacist, which is a really stupid thing to do. I think everybody here agrees that.
For that example, you kept correcting them that no, this is what systemic racism is. It's really simple. You don't need any risk factor, and then be like, oh well, not everyone's racist. Like, you dumb motherfucker, how many times do I need to explain this stuff? Like,
yeah, but I mean, when you've heard it like a million times, it's hard, right? To like, I try to be charitable. I would encourage you. I don't know how many like conservatives you know in real life. Talk to conservative people. They're not like all like these crazy, horrible, demonic, like fucked up people that are just looking to like murder black people and poor people. Like, I don't
think so. But maybe it's not in my life. It wouldn't be the best example because the ones I've talked to, like I've got a bunch in my friend groups, and they're. Let's say they're missing a couple of gears in their six-pack.
Let me be clear. People that do politics online are a different breed. Now, like, are different types of animals than like just like normal people that are conservative. I would say be careful with that for sure. So like online political people are going to be driven in totally different ways than like normal bread and butter conservatives that just like are people that happen to be conservative. I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for a normal conservative, someone who's not that doesn't have a monetary incentive or wouldn't have to be like, oh, actually my whole ideology is wrong, so I got to tell all my viewers that I've been wrong this whole time. Like, very few people can do that online. Like, there's Hunter Avalon I can think of, and like I think he's very respectable for that. Like, just having realized actually what I believe then really makes sense according to the facts, and I'm changing my idea. But for the most part, a few of the skeptics did that, but they were mostly just grifting, where they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna make a new channel, and it's just pretty much the same person, just in a new brand of paint.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's hard, but yeah.
For my real life friends, a lot of the time, like I've convinced, it's a constant battle pretty much, because like I'll convince them of something, be like, oh, actually, yeah. When you give me all these facts, it makes sense. And then a week later, they've hung out with their group of I'm not gonna say that word, but they've hung out with a bunch of dumb people, and they're right back to the same thing. It's like, I thought we've talked about this. I thought it was pretty clear. Like for example, I've convinced a bunch of them along with my parents to get the vaccine, but even then, like they'll get the first one and then it's back down to that, and then I gotta convince them again. They get the second chance. Like, Jesus Christ, how much work did it take for you to function? Like, I
mean, it's a process. It's a big thing, but like, it's hard to move people off their beliefs. It's always going to be like really challenging.
Yeah. But my point for that is more like, it's not so much. I don't think people are driven as much as. I think it's like a personal bias that you have, that people are super driven by facts. I really don't think that's the case. I think.
Hold on, to be clear, I'm not saying people are personally driven by facts. Absolutely not. Like, people arrive at conclusions in all sorts of ways. But I'm saying that if somebody sees like one or two wrong things from somebody, that will like make them mistrust them completely. This is normal of like friendships, relationships, business relationships. Like, that's just a thing that will absolutely happen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but is there any way to solve that, in your opinion? Because I don't think you can really expect your average 18-year-old to not be a dumbass online and spread misinformation.
No,
I don't think it's.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is easy to get rid of, but I don't think it should be gotten rid of. Like, if I this is how I make like judgments in my life. It sucks, but like, if I know somebody. If somebody shows me that they're willing to lie about something, I'll never forget that. I'll always remember that. And I probably won't trust that person unless it's like some crazy extenuating circumstance, right? So no, I think that when people are like willing to show you that they're willing to lie about something, you should remember that. I think that's a good thing, because you don't know what else they're willing to lie about if they've already shown you that they'll lie about one thing. So, I mean, you have to do your best to like enforce like, hey, like no misinformation or whatever, right?
No, I agree. Just to an extent, I feel like it's always something that people can fall back on. It's like, oh, well, everything you're saying in this debate is right, but there's this dumbass on Twitter with 5 likes that said this, or there's this dumbass on Twitter with 1,000 likes that said this. It's like, why do I give a fuck if there's a couple of dumb fucks online who are spreading misinformation, when in this very conversation I haven't done any of that. I've very simply laid out all my definitions. This is all irrelevant. Like, I'm mostly talking about you because people in my life don't really care about what people on Twitter say, but that's something I constantly notice in your debates, which is like infuriating. Like, every time they're stuck in a corner, they're like, oh well, time to pivot real quick to this dumbass fact that doesn't really affect the conversation, and try to wiggle out the fact. Like Lauren kept doing that. Like she just kept going back to the thing, and you kept slamming her down every time, but it wouldn't matter because every time, oh well, not everyone's racist. Like,
I mean, like, yeah,
come on,
again,
dude.
And this is kind of something I talked to a fanatic about this earlier. You say that it doesn't matter because, like, what you're looking for is, like, I want to see them change their mind right now. And, like, unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. Like, it's a process. It's going to take a while. None of these things happen overnight. Like, it's one of those things where if you keep running into conversations like this over and over and over again, like, your mind will slowly start to change. It's bound to, it has to happen. Like, any normal functioning human being, it'll happen over time. But, like, it's not going to happen in one conversation. It might require a whole bunch of resetting where it's like, fuck, I thought we talked about this. Got to do this again. Like, it might be that case. Like, but I mean, like, that's all you can do. I mean, the other alternative is like genociding half the population. It's like, oh, well, fuck it, they're irredeemable, right? So, like, we have to have some level of hope. We have to believe that people's beliefs can be moved to some extent. And I think they can. I think for the most part, like, people can be moved on things.
I think, like, I think for the average person, that's definitely the case that they're not too hard to move. Like, in my opinion, like, every time I talk to your average person, like, especially in a group setting, they kind of end up kind of embarrassing themselves to an extent because clearly they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Like, their knowledge is so shallow. Like, well, it's what you always say. Like, they fall apart as soon as you ask the second question.
Here's the problem, okay? Is that everything that exists in this world, there should be some underlying fact of the matter, okay? Something is bringing about this other phenomenon, this other idea into existence. That should be the case because everything is causally related, right? Nothing happens randomly, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a pretty similar philosophy on things. So, yeah.
So all I'm saying is that, like, if somebody believes something like, oh, all black people are drug dealers, if somebody were to say that in a debate, the way that you argue against that, it seems like the way that you argue against that is like, okay, well, hold on. Well, let's just look at the data. Look, all black people aren't drug dealers. Boom, it's over. But the reality is that they didn't come to that thought by seeing data that said that all black people were drug dealers. There was something else that they heard, or there's some other perception they have, and that underlying thing is what you have to address. That's what you got to figure out. Like, why do you believe that particular thing? And then, like, let's work from there, basically. Yeah. But that gets into, like, deeper conversations that aren't just, like, necessarily fact-based or necessarily like I saw this report. It might be something like, oh, well, every time, you know, I see this news report, it's like this, or I've known black people to say this. Like, you have to get, like, more into the weeds on those conversations.
Yeah, I agree. Like, people care way too much about, like, anecdotal stuff. They maybe they saw one, like, a couple of times drug dealers, like, a bit more often with black people. It's like, oh, black people are drug dealers. Like, my dude, like, your limited experience is meaningless. Like, whatever you like, anecdotal evidence is only useful for, like, very, very big things that
this is true, but that what you're saying is very inhuman, right? You have to be aware of that like, humans draw off of very limited data sets in order to make wide assumptions, right?
Oh, I think, but I think the average person is infuriating when it comes to
it is infuriating. But I mean, like, just think about how you're designed as a human, right? If you put your hand on a hot stove, you're not going to go test anymore. Like, you've drawn that association once and you're done. Or humans are very good at drawing associations between, like, foul foods that will give you, like, food poisoning. If you eat a food like that, I think for some people, I think it can actually change the physical taste. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, like, you eat food and you get food poisoning, like, you will avoid that food for, like, the rest of your life. That's just how humans work.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. So, like, if we function that way, like, on a biological, like, on a physiological level, if that's, like, how our body functions, we shouldn't really be surprised when people are, like, drawing anecdotes out of, like, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 stories that they've seen, right? Because that's kind of like, that's how it works. So yeah, we just have to be aware of that. There's a lot to fight against. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's not surprising at all. It's just depressing in a way, but and yeah, for this psychological thing, I agree completely. People are designed to see patterns. That's what helped us to survive for such a long time. Like, you see the little patterns there that might save your life. So we like, and people overcompensate by seeing patterns where there's not anything, and they build a whole ideology on top of that. Like, the way I always see this is people kind of have a pyramid in a way, with, like, more fundamental belief and stuff built on top of the other. So a lot of the time people will try to address something that's, like, more at the top of the pyramid, but it's pointless because that's not what you actually need to contend with. It's something way below, way lower in the steps of the pyramid that you need to deal with. And a lot of the time you'll see people being like, oh, this argument didn't work, okay, to the next one, because underlying all these arguments is something more fundamental that is actually the thing you need to argue about. Actually, like when you were talking to the serve, that's something I noticed. Like you did your classic mistake of always like letting him switch the points and not like punishing him for it, because you like you always say, you kind of just move on as soon as someone's proven wrong, but to actually get the impact, you have to be like, so you agree you were wrong on this, okay, to the next one, kind of.
My blood will be on your hands.
Good.
I have nothing to live for, so I will follow through. All I want is Undertale Steven.
I'm glad.
Please, bonus
You know
me.
what?
Wowie.
If I had a friend that told me that they wanted to kill themselves, you know what I would say to him? I would say, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and go to a therapist so that you can get some counseling to figure out your real problems, bro, because suicide is never the answer, okay?
I think you know what this is about. A donation earlier.
Okay. Oh, you're like super adamant about some people dying that in states. Okay, I just don't care that much about it right now. I'm playing video games. It's just not something
That changes the election. That was the whole thing. You're like, I don't know if COVID's really changed much about our
the election is over.
And then people literally died so much that it flipped the election.
Okay, but here's the problem. I don't know if you know that. That might not be the case, right? This is a hard question to answer.
Okay, so 9,000 people died.
Yeah.
In Georgia alone from COVID prior to the election. Okay, there's 400,000 cases of COVID in Georgia before the election. The election, the difference was 11,000 people. Okay, so here's two questions for you right off the bat. Let's see if you got the information. If you have the answer to this, I'll be shocked. Okay, and wait, I might even know your question before you ask it. Okay, you know one of them, but you don't know the second one. Go. Which one's Republican? Which one's Democrat? Was that going to be a question?
That's the first one that I know you know that one, but you're not going to be ready for the second one. Are you ready? The second one's going to really throw you for a loop. Okay. So on the first one, that's true. The Republican-Democrat split, it's probably like, if it's really big, it's probably like 60-40 or something. It's not going to be like 90-10 or 99-1, right?
Okay.
But here's the second one, okay? The vast majority of people that have died from the coronavirus are old, at-risk people anyways. How many of those people were going to die from something else before the election?
Well, okay, follow up to that. The people who vote the most are also what? The elderly. Okay, so if we're focusing on the elderly and people that would have died, then we're talking about people who are more prone to vote as well.
How does it do anything what I just said? All I'm saying is that, like, let's say, here's the thing, okay? So 11,000 votes was the difference. 9,000 people died. Let's say 60% of those 9,000 people, which is a high number, let's say 60% were Republicans, okay? That's 5,400 Republicans. Now, of those 5,400 old Republicans that died, how many of them would have died to, like, pneumonia or something else, regardless, because they were already old? Maybe it's like 2,000 or 3,000 would have died already, right? So now you're down to what, like 2,000, 3,000 Republicans that died? Now, those 2,000 or 3,000 Republicans that died, how many of them would have voted, right? If the turnout is like 50, 60%, now you're down to like 1,000 or 1,500 Republicans voting, right? That's all I'm saying. You can't just say like 9,000 people died, 11,000 vote difference, it decided the election. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but we know it's not just broken down by like the whole amount of people that voted in the state. There's the blue counties and the red counties, and you can look at the numbers between those counties, and you can see that it comes down to like 50 people. Like, well, I think the lowest was like 96, and then it goes upwards to like I think 1,000 was like the biggest gap. But I'm just saying, it was really close, and it seems to be like people who are much better at stats than me, admittedly, and look through this and see like how close it was that COVID actually made a difference. I heard people talk about COVID being a difference because of it's just like the mail-in voting. Sorry, the mail-in voting was like this big, massive difference, and I don't see like a ton of stats about that. But then when it comes,
it might be that in some counties maybe that made the difference, but elections aren't won by county; they're won by state, right? Except in like Nebraska and Maine, right?
There was like 10,000 votes in Arizona and 10,000 votes in Georgia, and I think like 11,000 votes in like Wisconsin.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just really close. Okay. Look, I
it is close,
think it's a little underspoken about. That's all. That's the whole meeting. It's supposed to be pretty quick, with not really dive into the weeds of all
I'll look into it more in the future. Okay, I promise. All right.
No. Listen here. You invite me on for a debate, and then I tell you because you invite me on to message my manager, which is not an
Brittany,
unreasonable
why do you
thing.
have a manager?
When
You have like
invite me on,
300 viewers. You don't leverage any sponsors.
speak over me.
You don't have any like.
Are you a debater? Shouldn't you know the rules of not speaking over someone?
Yeah, someone, but you're no one. Like, you're literally nobody. Why the fuck would I contact a manager to go through you, Brittany?
Someone, you're half of somebody.
All right, Gappy, what do you want?
My question is for Dan. What exactly is Redact's business model? Like, how exactly do you plan to generate revenue for it?
Oh, that's actually a very interesting question. So, the first thing that we're focusing on right now is just making the best product that we can. You know, that's number one. That's what you got to do right there. And in the future, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff we have coming, but most likely mobile apps are going to be a pretty big draw for us. You know,
well, it sounds like your plan is to just make a product and maybe just have users, I guess. But how exactly do you make money from that, though?
Well, there's a lot of things. I could make a ton of money right now. All it would take is basically saying if you're a free user, you can only delete like so many messages or only go back 60 days. Like for Reddit and maybe Discord and Facebook, yeah, they're in Twitter. There's a few other things that do it, so it's a little bit there. But all the other things we support, Skype, yeah, go find anything else that lets you delete Skype. You won't, because we're the only one. And that's the case for a lot of the shit we did, because we work really hard, like TikTok and things like that. There is no automated things to delete that. So we are the only option. So we could charge whatever we want, and I'm being a generous God and giving it for free right now. In the future, as I said, we'll have like premium upsells, or we'll do other things like removing you from whitepages.com, or we'll work directly with companies. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunities here to do stuff in the future. But that's like, you know, once you have a critical mass, you go down that road. For now, it's about building up trust, building a good product, and you deal with that stuff later on. I'm not hard up to make like an extra $10,000 a month off of this. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but do you ultimately, if you want to get like acquired probably or something like that, you got to have some way to actually monetize people, right?
Plenty of people get acquired before they figured out like monetization, of course.
Now, to answer your question on acquisition, think about McAfee, Symantec, Norton. These are companies that are dying, okay, in my opinion. And the reason being, you know, they're literally bribing PC makers to bundle their shit on a computer that's brand new sold. And then you, as a consumer, the first thing you're doing is fucking uninstalling it, right? That's how bad that software is. It's because we're in an age where it's just not the same as it was 10 years ago, where viruses were like a huge deal to that extent. Like, you don't have one on your phone. A lot of Mac users don't have it at all. And on Windows, the Defender, the built-in one, is good enough. So these are businesses that are going to have to absolutely redefine what their business is going to do. All they know is selling on fear. And the next generation of fear isn't going to be based off of, you know, evil software is taking your stuff, and more along the lines of, you know, what is happening to your data. So that's where I think we come into on that front.
Okay, well, good luck, buddy.
Thank you.
Great improvements to colorblind. Now we know that colorblindness affects people who are colorblind in many different ways. So our old system worked for a lot of people who were colorblind, but there were many colorblind folks who still really struggled with the game and perceiving friendly versus enemy. Thanks to all the work that we did for esports and the Overwatch League, we are able to add color changes not only to the character silhouettes, but some of the interface elements.
Why is he crying? Is he just realizing he's wasted so much of his life playing Overwatch? That's pretty sad, I guess.